What's up, everybody? I am Milan Jordan. Welcome to the MMA Daily Blitz, brought to you by FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. By all means, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you consume your podcast. You can follow me on Twitter/X and Threads at Milan Jordan. Also, check out our website, FanStreamSports.com, for more great content. All right, it's finally here. The highly anticipated UFC 300 will finally happen this Saturday night. Where else? The T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, live on pay-per-view. And being such a monumental event and historical event, of course, it's a stacked card with not one, not two, but three title fights. And the prelims have some pay-per-view worthy matchups as well. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The headliner of UFC 300 is for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. Alex Pereira will put his belt on the line against Jamal Hill. Pereira won the belt at UFC 295 last fall. It was a second-round TKO over Yuri Prohaska. He's fighting for just the third time at 205 pounds, and he's fighting against the previous light heavyweight champ, Jamal Hill, who had to vacate the title last summer after tearing his Achilles. He comes in on a 4-fight winning streak. Pereira, he won the middleweight title back in 2022, as you remember, over Israel Adesanya, only to lose the easy in the immediate rematch. Pereira is seeking to successfully defend a UFC title for the first time. He's definitely got the striking advantage. 7 of his 9 pro wins have been by knockout. And no matter what's going on in the fight, he is more than capable of ending the fight with one punch or one kick at any time. Hill, he's got the better cardio. He's a more well-rounded fighter, in my opinion, but he's not afraid to stand and bang. Of the 4 wins in his current winning streak, 3 have been by knockout. Co-main event, another championship on the line. Strawweight champion Zhang Weili will put the belt on the line against Yao Xiaonan. History will be made Saturday night. This will be the first all-Chinese championship fight in UFC history. Zhang is coming off a unanimous decision win over Amanda Lemos last summer to improve to 24-3 overall. With a win Saturday night, she'll definitely put herself in the conversation of being on the Mount Rushmore of UFC female fighters. As for Yan, well, she earned the title shot with a first-round knockout of Jessica Andrade nearly a year ago. Both Zhang and Yan will enter the octagon Saturday night with a combined record of 42-6. Both fighters, they're athletic, they have speed, they have power. Expect some fireworks, and the co-main event comes Saturday night. All right, and I mentioned there are 3 title fights. The third title fight on UFC 300 is for the BMF title between Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. Well, let's be honest, this fight could headline just about any other UFC card. At UFC 300, it gets third billing. But look, should be fun to watch. Neither guy disappoints when they step inside the octagon to fight. This is a legit fight of the night candidate. Justin Gaethje, remember, he won the BMF belt last summer with a second-round TKO win over Dustin Poirier. Look, he's got 12 post-fight bonuses in the UFC, nonstop action. He could take it as well as he can dish it out, and Lord knows that man can dish out the punishment. Max Holloway, former featherweight king, he's another fan favorite. He holds the all-time UFC record with 3,197 significant strikes inside the octagon. He's now looking for some success at 155 pounds. Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway, they've got a combined 61 fights between them. They never disappoint. The bigger the stage, the bigger these two perform. Should be a great one come Saturday night. On paper, it's a potential fight of the year candidate. And to add more to this, leading up to the fight, Max Holloway suggested to have UFC Hall of Famer Mark Coleman put the BMF belt on whoever wins this fight, calling Coleman the, quote, real-life BMF. You may recall last month, Mark Coleman saved his parents in a near-fatal house fire last month in Ohio that hospitalized Coleman for a few days, where for a day it looked like he was fighting for his life due to smoke inhalation. Came out of it, back at the gym not even a week later. And again, Mark Coleman, he is a BMF. Justin Gaethje, he's cool with the first ever UFC heavyweight champ and the godfather of ground and pound, putting the BMF belt on the winner of this fight. Well, just a short time ago at the pre-fight press conference, UFC CEO Dana White said, it's done. Mark the Hammer Coleman will be putting the BMF belt on the winner of the Justin Gaethje Max Holloway fight. Outstanding. Kudos to the UFC for this. It's not often that the UFC really pays, in our minds, proper homage to the legends of the sport, the people who laid the groundwork for the UFC and MMA, and really honoring the legends. But this here on Saturday night, having Mark Coleman, he was already there attending the fight with his daughter, attending UFC 300, and now they're going to have him put on the BMF belt, and a great way to honor a UFC Hall of Famer and a true legend of the sport. And look, on a personal level, Mark the Hammer Coleman, I've hosted some shows here in Columbus. I've done some promotional appearances with him, not just in Columbus, but also attending some fights in the past with him. And a great guy. He is a true legend. He is a BMF. Well deserved to have him put on the BMF belt on the winner of Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway come Saturday night. Kudos to the UFC and congrats to Mark Coleman for being there and being honored come Saturday night. Should be a great moment for sure. All right, check out the rest of the main card. Charles Oliveira will take on Arman Tsarukyan in a lightweight contender fight. Oliveira, remember, he was the former 155-pound champ. Last October, he was set to fight Islam Makhachev in a championship rematch in Abu Dhabi, but late in his training camp, he suffered a brutal cut that caused him to force him out of that fight. Charles Oliveira, he's another fan favorite. He's 34-9 in his career with 31 stoppages, 20 of those coming in the UFC, including 16 by submission. And look, Oliveira, he's only lost one time over the last 6 years. With a win Saturday night, he should put himself back in line for a shot to regain the lightweight strap. Meanwhile, Arman Tsarukyan, he's only lost twice in 10 UFC fights. Both were by decision, once to Islam Makhachev in his UFC debut, and also to Mateusz Gamrot. Like Oliveira, Tsarukyan is also capable of finishing fights. 14 of his 21 wins have been stoppages, including 9 knockouts. All right, the pay-per-view portion of the UFC 300 will open in the middleweight division as wrestling phenom Bo Nickel will look to continue his unbeaten streak going to 5-0 in the UFC. He will face fellow wrestler Cody Brundage. Brundage is certainly the most experienced fighter that Nickel has faced so far in his brief MMA career. Each of Bo Nickel's professional fights, all wins, have ended in the first round, with the longest going just 2 minutes, 54 seconds. We'll see what happens come Saturday night when Bo Nickel takes on Cody Brundage. The prelim fights for UFC 300, pretty solid. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these are pay-per-view main card worthy fights. Headlining the prelims will be a former light heavyweight champion Yuri Prochazka taking on Alexander Rakic. Rakic is fighting for the first time since suffering a brutal knee injury nearly 2 years ago. Rakic comes in with a record of 6-2 inside the octagon, while Prochazka, coming off the loss I mentioned earlier to Alex Pereira for the belt, for the light heavyweight belt at UFC 295. That is his only defeat in the UFC. We'll see if Rakic, if he has any kind of rust. Again, his first fight in 2 years, and Prochazka with a win will put him back in title contention at 205. Another former UFC champion is on the prelims as well. Former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling makes his debut at 145 pounds as he will face longtime featherweight Calvin Kattar. Perhaps the most anticipated fight on the prelims. Another former champion, Holly Holm, welcomes in former PFL champ and two-time Olympic gold medalist Kayla Harrison to the UFC. And not only will this be Kayla Harrison's UFC debut, but also her first fight at 135 pounds. She has fought most of her career at 155 pounds, but throughout fight week, both Kayla Harrison and her head coach, Mike Brown, have said her weight cut is going well. They're not worried about Kayla making 135, so we shall see. Also on the prelims, Bobby Green looks to get back on a winning track as he steps in with longtime UFC veteran Jim Miller. And on Saturday, Jim Miller will become the only fighter to have competed at UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300. And Jim Miller is hoping for a repeat performance, looking to earn a win Saturday night, just like he did at UFC 100 and UFC 200. And capping off the prelim fights, couple of other former champions will meet up inside the octagon. Former flyweight champ Davison Figueiredo will fight for the second time at bantamweight as he will face former champion Cody Garbrandt, who is looking to win his third straight fight. You can catch all the prelims on ESPN Plus and ESPN starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. Saturday night is UFC 300 in Las Vegas, but the night prior, the PFL regular season continues, featuring the heavyweight and light heavyweight divisions. This will also take place in Las Vegas. Looking at the main card, the heavyweight division, you got Impa Kasan Ganeg taking on Alex Polizzi. You also have a couple of light heavyweight bouts. Sadabu C, taking on Josh Silveira, and Antonio Carlos Jr. takes on Simon Beyong. And we also got one lightweight fight as again, PFL and Bellator, they have taken Bellator. Clay Collard will take on Patricky Pitbull. You can catch the PFL Friday night on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for this episode of the MMA Daily Blitz, brought to you by FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Like, share, and subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. You can follow me on Twitter /X and Threads at Milan Jordan. Also, be sure to check out the new FanStream Sports app available for Apple and Android for around-the-clock programming. Enjoy the fights this weekend. Thank you, as always, for checking out the MMA Daily Blitz. I will talk to you later.